In this video, we're going to talk about one of the most unusual looking creatures on the planet, the anteater. I mean, with their tube-like snouts, powerful claws, and those famously long, sticky tongues, they are just perfectly designed for a very specific diet. So let's dive into everything you need to know about these fascinating mammals. Alright, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to meet the whole anteater family. Then, we'll get into how they became such specialized eating machines. After that, we'll take a look at their solitary lives, check out their habitats and the threats they face, and we'll wrap it all up with some weird and wonderful facts. Okay, first things first, let's get acquainted with the anteater family. And you might be surprised to find out there's more than just one type, and they've got some pretty famous relatives. So what exactly are they? Well, despite those unique looks, they are 100% mammals. They belong to a group called Xenarthra, and what's really cool is this group also includes sloths and armadillos, and it first evolved way back when South America was basically its own isolated island continent. And this isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of family. There are actually 4 distinct species. You've got the massive giant anteater, which can get up to 8 feet long. Then, on the other end of the scale, is the tiny silky anteater, which lives its entire life up in the trees. And right in the middle, you have the 2 medium-sized tamanduas. They're kind of like the Goldilocks of the anteater world. Now let's get to their most famous feature, how they eat. We're going to look at the incredible tools that make an anteater the perfect insect-eating specialist. You know, these adaptations are a fantastic example of something called convergent evolution, where totally unrelated animals end up developing similar traits to solve the same problem. Okay, so the most striking thing is that long snout, but what's inside is even crazier. They are completely toothless. Yep, not a single tooth. So instead of chewing, they have these horny growths on the roof of their mouth and a really muscular stomach, almost like a bird's gizzard that grinds up all their food. So to make up for having no teeth, they have an absolutely incredible tongue. A giant anteater's tongue can stretch up to 2 feet long. It's so long, in fact, that it isn't attached at the back of its throat like ours. It's attached all the way back on its sternum. This allows for some seriously rapid movement. This is literally the longest tongue of any mammal relative to its body size. It's covered in these tiny backward-facing spines and super sphincty saliva to trap insects. And get this, they can flick this thing in and out of a nest 150 times a minute. It's just unbelievably efficient. With a tool like that, they can chow down on a shocking number of insects every single day. We're talking about up to 30,000 ants and termites. Now, to get that much food, an anteater might visit 200 different nests a day, but it only feeds for about a minute at each one. That way, the colony can survive and replenish itself. Pretty smart, huh? So how do they find all that food? Well, they rely on an absolutely incredible sense of smell. Anteaters have pretty bad eyesight, so they really let their nose lead the way. It's estimated to be about 40 times more powerful than a human's, which lets them easily sniff out insect colonies buried deep underground. And to actually get to the food, they use these bad boys. Their front claws are their primary tools for ripping into tough ant and termite nests that can be as hard as concrete. These claws can be 4 inches long, and they're so sharp and important that anteaters actually walk on their knuckles, kind of like a gorilla, just to protect them. Okay, so we know they're incredible eaters, but what about the rest of their lives? Let's take a look at how they spend their days. Anteaters are not social animals at all. They really prefer to live alone, just roaming their own large territories. And they are all about conserving energy, which makes a lot of sense when your diet is mostly low-calorie insects. They can sleep for up to 15 hours a day. The only real exception to their solitary rule is when a mother is raising her young pup. The pup is born with a full coat of hair, and it immediately climbs onto its mother's back. It'll stay there for protection, and its stripes line up perfectly with the mother's, creating this brilliant camouflage against predators. So that brings up the question of how these loner animals even reproduce. Well, a female anteater only has 1 baby at a time, and the birthing process is pretty unique. She actually gives birth while standing upright on her hind legs, using that big, bushy tail to brace herself for support. Alright, so where in the world do these amazing creatures live, and what kind of dangers are they facing out there? Anteaters are native to the Americas. You can find them all the way from Central America down through a big chunk of South America. They really thrive in tropical forests, grasslands, and savannas, basically anywhere they can find a steady supply of their favorite food. Out in the wild, their main enemies are big cats like jaguars and pumas. And trust me, a cornered anteater is a fierce fighter. It'll rear up on its hind legs and slash with those powerful front claws. But the biggest threats they face today, unfortunately, come from us humans. Because of these threats, the biggest species, the giant anteater, is now considered a vulnerable population. And while the other 3 species are currently listed as least concern, things like habitat destruction and cars are causing all anteater populations to decline. Okay, let's wrap this up with some of the most surprising, just plain weird facts about these incredible animals. Alright, here are 5 fascinating facts for you. First, they have the lowest body temperature of any placental mammal, which is a huge part of how they save energy. We already know they walk on the knuckles to keep those claws sharp. They're also surprisingly good swimmers, and they can gallop up to 30 miles per hour if they need to. But maybe the wildest fact of all, they don't produce stomach acid. Instead, they just use the formic acid from the ants they eat to digest their meal. How crazy is that? The anteater is truly a marvel of evolutionary specialization. I mean, from its toothless snout all the way to its acid-powered digestion, it is perfectly built for its world. But as that world continues to change, its survival really hangs in the balance, leaving us with a pretty critical question to think about. Alrighty, that is it for this video, everyone. Thank you for watching. Please make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, and I'll see you in the next video.